All those who are attending, we welcome you to this evening. We'll be just starting in a few minutes. We just are having some technical difficulties, so we should be all right in a couple of minutes. I think we'll be good to start now. So we'll get Mansa Madam, our principal.
Thank you, sir. Happy Friday to one and all present here. Welcome to respected dignitaries, the head of schools from other institutions, the parents from other schools, the parents from our own school, the students from our school, the students from other schools, the special invitees, and all the attendees present here. We shall commence the Friday evening, and today happens to be Adi Velli. We shall commence this evening with a nice Amman song by our student Darshan.
Karpuraharam Karunavadaram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Karpuraharam Karunavadaram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayana Pavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Sada Vasantam Hridayana Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Karunavadaram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayana Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Sahitam Namami Sahitam Namami.
Thank you, Darshan.
Shanti ma'am is available now.
Shanti ma'am, just before you commence,
good evening.
Let me just mention this to the attendees. Welcome aboard the Shrine Group of Schools. We are still in VUCA, war with the virus. We being the dominant species, I'm sure we'll beat this with resilience and optimism and see light at the end of the tunnel. As we touch the altitude of positivity, may I request the head of our Cambridge school, Shrine Velankani Global School, Ms. Shanti Venkat, to introduce the speaker, Ms. Manju.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, one and all present here. We welcome Ms. Manju on board. Manju is a positive life psychologist, neuro-linguistic practitioner, life coach, and a relationship counselor. She's done her bachelor's and master's in psychology and has secured a gold medal, and the Governor of Chennai has honored her. Manju has also completed a master in neuro-linguistic programming from the NFNLP, Miami, Florida. Her added qualification of NLP to psychotherapy helps clients to overcome their existing state in a more fulfilled way. She has her own custom-made programs and therapies for different clients and needs. Her innovative ways of helping people with amalgamation of many procedures and activities help clients to rediscover and find a new way to realize their ongoing issues and problems. She's been invited to many talk shows and has spoken on varied topics. Her knowledge of transactional analysis and cognitive behavior therapy is to help her clients gain better solutions and insights into their lives and self. Manju is a natural reader and someone who always believes that we can achieve anything no matter what, provided we work in a disciplined and structured way. Every struggle eventually will have an outcome. How we build from there matters. Never lose faith in you or the supreme power, as the fate will destine your outcome with your true actions. Her workshops have helped many in their journey. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful panel and this lovely school to give me this opportunity to talk, to deliver Manasa, am I clear?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, that's great. So, a very warm welcome to all our participants, and thank you to the owners of the Shrine Velankali School, Mrs. B.K. Pillai, the correspondent, Mr. Pillai, secretary, Mrs. Manasa, the principal, and the moderators, Miss Anita and Miss Shanti. I'm happy to be on board with you. So, you all can give me the green signal and let me know. Can we start now?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So today's topic is something which we all are living our everyday life with. We're going to go into the dynamics of parents and kids. So it doesn't matter which age your child is, because your child is always going to remain your child. But how you manage your child matters a lot. So as parents, our responsibilities are not just with everyday living with our children. It's the way we deliver ourselves. Before I take this a little further, I would like to tell each and every parent something which is very important in this discussion today. Firstly, we need to help ourselves. Whenever anything is bothering us in terms of our childhood issues or anything of the past making us insecure, we need to change our way of thinking. Only when we change our way of thinking, we can deliver a better parental style. So I'm going to start the screen sharing, please. Today, in 25 minutes, which was the time given to me, we can make a difference to our minds and to ourselves and realize there could be something lurking within us which we can reset and renew and make a difference to our child. I'm going to read this out and then I will explain so people can be focused on this right now. Relationships between parents and children. Positive relationships between parents and children are important for all areas of children development. Positive relationships with children are based on being in the moment, spending quality time, and building trust. Your relationship with your child will change and develop as your child grows and develops. Okay, very, very, very important. Mindfulness. How many of us are mindful today or care to be mindful? How many of us realize that with awareness in the moment, we can change the present moment and the future for our child? This is the key to success. Let me explain as we further. Growing evidence suggests that teaching mindfulness to children can help with learning decision making, emotional intelligence, self confidence, and connectedness to others. Okay, so everybody's talking about mindfulness these days. But what is it? Everybody says be positive, be strong, let's understand. But how? How do we understand? How do we be strong? How do we know? It is through two, we can use different models. Today, we're going to use two models. One is the mindful model, and one is the other model is the mindset. In the mindful model, I'm going to give you lots of information, and then we will connect the dots together to understand how this entire parenting concept works. So, when we're sitting with our children, we need to activate the five senses: taste, smell, vision, feel, touch. For example, it can start if you have not done it yet and you're already your child is an adolescent. Please start right now. For example, when you're touching, if you want the child to feel mindful taste, you ask him how is the food, not just about good or bad. Is it sour? Is it bitter? Is it like something which makes you feel happy? Then the mindful sense of smell. Are you getting a good aroma? Are you able to, is there from the neighbor's house a different kind of smell is coming? Then there's another feeling of if you're touching the texture of your pant, of your dress. So what are you doing? You're training your child to be mindful on his different senses. That is how we start on mindful training. Slide, please. Okay. As we all know, if we want our children out there to be good individuals, what is the meaning of good? Is it just someone standing there and doing right things? Or is it someone who's very aware of their self-image, their self-awareness, their self-confidence? These three roles, the three S, they play a very, very important role as the child develops. So, emotional intelligence. This is developing positive emotion through emotional intelligence. You will ask me what emotional intelligence is. It's how you communicate assertively, how you respond reacting to conflicts, listening, internal motivation, maintaining a positive attitude, self awareness, taking criticism well, and empathizing with others. So, this emotional intelligence is something we all need to concentrate today on. We've always kept high standards for our child. We've always had conditions. We've always wanted our children to fulfill our dreams through them. But has anybody understood or realized? I have met a lot of people. They could be so intellectually creative, but if you talk to them, they're emotionally very low. In today's parental models, researchers and a lot of money has gone into studying how important it is to make our parents understand that healthier child comes from emotions. Healthier children come from the way of parenting. It comes from mindfulness. It comes from understanding the minutes spent with them. For example, we think we are spending child time with our kids, but we are actually there. But what are we doing? We are always on the phone. We are addicted to the media, or we are talking to somebody. Say from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I have my youngster next to me. There are parents like that. I don't feel ashamed to admit that, twice I've done this 3 years back myself when I was constantly promoting my event and my child was next to me and I'm not being there, but my physical presence is just there. Thank God I realized that within a week. And I was able to move on and understand that, okay, I can use my phone, I can use what I want. But when I'm next to my child, it is most important to give that time fully to my child. And how do I do this? What are the ways in which I can spend quality time with my kids? There was this old saying, we eat together. Family who stays together, eats together, and talks together always remains together. You think seeing TV with children, some parents, fathers, they don't have time. But when we even see a cartoon with a child, even if it's an adolescent, it becomes like a therapy. Slide, please. Now, this is something which you all can relate to from the way you all were brought up and from the way you all are parenting now. If you can see on the extreme left, you have the authoritative parent, then you have the authoritarian. I'll tell you the difference between these two. The authoritative parent is able to balance being an authority and still has a lot of rules out there for their child and is holding control. The authoritarian parent is totally dominating, doesn't allow the child to breathe, doesn't allow the child to understand, but it has to go on its order, more like a military system without understanding whether it makes sense or no sense. The neglectful parent wouldn't care. They just bothered about their own activities. If you notice, the permissive parent allows the child to do whatever they want. But what happens to the child when it is in the permissive mode? It it goes careless, out of control. The self-esteem goes here and there. It gets into peer pressure. It thinks it should do anything, whatever it wants. The overprotective parent again will hamper the self-esteem of the child. And then we come to the power struggle. Oh God, here what do you expect? The parent is reliving childhood in the most disgusting way because he doesn't understand that he's in a parent role and what he needs to do. We all know what a good parent is. A good parent is one who strives to give his best to the child, both in a mental manner and a healthy manner, to see a child is protected. I want to spend 2 minutes highlighting on the different parental types. If you all have noticed, sometimes we don't like one of our parents, but eventually we turn up to be like one of them. For example, if I have a very dominating father and I tell myself I'm not going to be like my dad ever, but I start becoming a controlled parent, I start emulating my own father while I bring up my kids. Do you think that's going to be good for the children? Absolutely not, because it will make their self esteem low. They will not understand where to go. Supposing it's an authoritarian parent, they just think that, if I give my child these set of rules, my child is going to understand many things. Again, that is again contributing to child's confidence going down. We must learn to say the permissive parent never says no to the child. They think everything is so cool and your child can do anything they want. Do you realize what happens with this? That child, no is very important. We must accept the no of our parents in our home. And when parents tell children no, it braces kids to adapt to the external world and to understand that it's not going to be yes every time, and it's never going to be my way or the highway. So, the type of parenting style, if today you've not reflected on what type of parenting style you are in fact adopting, then take few moments off after this talk and understand that the way you parent your child will make that child either like plasticine or either like a rough sculpture. Okay, structuring family time with kids. I'm reading this so it goes into your subconscious, and somewhere along the line, you all will start doing these things. Spending quality time, doing mindful activities, listening to them rather than scolding them, allowing them to express their feelings rather than suppressing their thoughts, playing indoor games like Scrabble, Judo, table tennis. When today there's a pandemic and we are hardly sending our kids out, it's such a blessing to spend time indoors. And creative art therapy, I will be talking about this as we further this talk, like shading, mandala art, watching a cartoon, as I mentioned, is mutual therapy, being expressive and showing demonstrative affection, eating together, if not in the daytime, but at least at the night time. Hearing and introducing a new genre of music helps to relax the mind and reduce stress. Have you parents ever noticed nowadays we are WhatsApping our kids from the room? What are we doing? Why are we not getting up? And why are we not understanding that we don't need to call our kids from the room? We are making them more lazy. We are making them more technologically dependent. The human touch is completely missing. This slide, parents as role models. Have you ever seen when we fight in front of our kids? They're in a different mode altogether. They're not able to understand themselves. They're not able to understand what is happening. They keep hearing our fights and they keep lowering their own potential. In that case, when parents don't realize, fights at home make these children more influenced to peer pressure. We all know what peer pressure is. We know our kid gets so influenced by peer pressure, and then we lose total control, or we lose our children to 10. How are we going to go about this? Why we have this slide of the old people there? It's better if we don't get along at home with the elderly members. We show our children at least that helping older people, helping elders is very important. By keeping value system inside our kids, they will be less influenced by peer pressure. They will make the correct online friends. This is an amazing topic. It's on the mindset. We all have grown mostly with a fixed mindset. We all wanted to be what our father told us, what our mother told us. But has anybody wondered what is the growth mindset? In the fixed mindset, our intelligence and talent is fixed at birth. That's why that lock, that image represents that. In the growth mindset, intelligence and talent can be developed and grown. For some of you, this topic on mindset must be completely new. And you all must be wondering, what is this again? Why is she going on repeating mindset? Because we can bring in the element of positivity and improve our relationship with our children with a concept of mindset. In a fixed mindset, we tend to, criticize our child. We don't let them understand that, if they have failed or they're not able to do an activity, we don't encourage them. We keep saying, oh, you can't do this better, you're useless, this is not done. But in a growth mindset, we don't mind failures. We accept failures as stepping stone to success. When a child is trained in a growth mindset in both the school atmosphere and at home, It generally knows to adapt itself better, and it understands how to take in challenges, how to move around situations. It is in the fixed mindset. When we go on praising the child and saying, "You've done your best," what happens is the child thinks it's done enough. There's nothing beyond it. Praise is important. Acknowledging their activity is important, but giving space for more alternative answers to understand more what is happening. These kind of kids in the growth mindset take criticism better and are better to understand where and when they are going to go in life. Screen share, please. Peer pressure and self-esteem. How do we figure out all this that our child is under peer pressure? Take time to praise your child and celebrate his or her achievements. Children who feel good about themselves are more able to resist negative peer pressure and make better choices. Choose their friends widely. This means online friends too. I want all of you to please concentrate on this as warning signs. If your teenager especially is in low moods, not cooperating, tearfulness, or feeling of hopelessness, aggression, or antisocial behavior, that's not usual for your child, then please get your antenna up and understand that you need to be attentive and know that there's something behind there happening. There could be sudden changes in behavior, often for no obvious reasons. Trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking early, loss of appetite or overeating, reluctance to go to school. So from all of this, peer pressure is very important, which today's parents must take it more seriously. Have you noticed your child just gets influenced at a very young age to smoke, at a very young age to do inappropriate behavior? Where is this coming from? Why is this coming? This actually comes from home, when we do not give enough love to our child, when we are so caught up in our own activities, not understanding that we sculpt our child's brain. How do we go about this? Once that appropriate love is given to our child, once we have mindfully looked after our child and we have trained them in certain activities to be together, they automatically form a protocol of human dignity and value structure. This in turn increases their self-esteem, in turn increases their confidence, and then they are better and happier to make healthy choices when they go out. And then they do not get influenced by peer pressure. We all by default do get influenced by peer pressure. It usually happens because, what will they say, how will say, but we can reduce that percentage of peer pressure. Coming back to the last part of this section, where it is very important to tell each one of you that making your child indulge in art therapy has proven to solve a lot of problems. Research has proven that art therapy is beneficial in helping a child heal from problems and trauma as a positive coping and healing tool, as well as an expression of the child and the world around them. Look at how beautiful this is. Various hands are put together just to form a beautiful phenomena of the brain. Creativity is intelligence having fun. By us concentrating on the growth mindset of our child, we are able to make them think out of the box. Isn't that what we want, finally, of the kids? Art therapy is something which I think many parents have not understood or concentrated on. It is something which will allow the conflicts, the emotional conflicts of the child to be worked out. It is something through which a child expresses how they feel. So we could put the child in classes, or we could buy these mandala art books, shading books, make the child understand, you're channelizing your energy into art in such a way that it will be able to grip the child and hold their emotional balance. This topic is a huge umbrella. I could go on, but I've just managed to pack as much as I can on various different pointers where parents on their parental style could change, on their mindfulness could understand that living in the moment with the child is most important, on their mindsets, concentrating on a growth mindset on how I can take my child to the next level, how I should stop criticizing my child, what is the effort I can take for the child, what are the encouraging words and supporting ways I can talk to the child. Sometimes the child is full of potential, but we are not allowing the child to, move on. A very simple example I'm going to give you all, maybe, and that it's getting a little time up, so I do understand. I'll just tell you this. There were two falcons, and they were not able to, they were very small. The king had given the priest and said, please look after both of them and tend on them. As the falcons were growing up, there was one falcon who flew in the air beautifully, but one falcon could never fly in the air. It was just stuck on the nest. How much ever the king got witches, sorcerers, people, everybody to try to make this falcon fly, it was not, it had it. It was born. By default, it could fly. But it didn't know. It didn't know how to fly, what to do. So many efforts, still that falcon was in the nest, staying there, not knowing that it was born to fly. And all of a sudden, the king sent messages throughout the kingdom that if anyone, makes this falcon fly, and I will give them my riches. And all of a sudden, one day, from nowhere, the king saw that falcon had flown. And how did that falcon fly? There was a very simple man of the forest. He just came and he cut that branch. And now what did that bird know? It just knew the branch had fallen. So it had no option but to fly. Same way, I have something very beautiful to say today. Our school, Shrine Velankali School, has given lot of opportunities in this trying and testing times to ensure that stability movement classes are going on smoothly. They have always been concentrating on the growth mindset. I don't know how many of you know this about our school. They actually concentrate on how to promote the well-being, not just through an educational system, but also through the reinforcement of positive words and making sure that criticism do not form in that system. They are doing their best to make sure that the school has reached a different level of evolving and ensuring stability in a very good way to the kids. It's a big onus on the parents and on the owners, but they've struck balance on this. I've tried to make this dynamics of parents and kids as short as possible. I do hope that some message and something has come through. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Manju. Ms. Shanti, could you? There are a lot of questions that are being posted in the Q&A box.
Yes.
Could you please moderate?
Ma'am, this is a question from a student, I presume, looking at the question. How to put your thoughts and views to your parents, because it's not easy due to generation gap, and modern views are generally not easily accepted by our parents. So,
yes, because the parents are so used to being in a different treasure box, and to come out from that and understand what the new generation child is saying is definitely difficult. So what you can do is start structuring your thought to your parent. Go and have a free talk, no matter whether your parent judges you or doesn't judge you. Take an effort. Try telling your parent. I'm very sure that they will give a ear to you. They're not going to ignore you or leave you. They will listen. Just take that effort and do it, and don't be scared. It seems that your confidence levels could be low when we think twice, or you feel your parents would react another way. Bring in a change by yourself by sitting across a table and asking them to listen to you in silence. It would help.
thank you, ma'am. There's one more. Because of this pandemic, the socializing has come to a standstill for the students. Now, how do the parents understand that their child is in pressure or in a depression zone?
In the crisis which we all are going through and which is getting better because we're not so locked up, inside the environment of what we have, it's very important that parents understand to spend little more time with their child. Like I said, getting kids into art therapy, especially in this pandemic time, will be so constructively good towards their emotions. I mean, you can't play cricket or tennis inside your house, but you could help getting these mandala books, or learning to shade, or playing sudoku, or doing puzzles together, seeing TV. You can't see TV all the time, but the activities which are involved, which can be initiated by the parents, can keep the child occupied and bring out a positive energy. If we're going to spend 1 hour of positive energy with activity oriented with our child day by day, chances of depression are definitely not going to be on a higher zone. Next question, please.
Shanti ma'am, please take the questions in order, because as the questions are being answered, we're dismissing the question.
Right, ma'am.
There's one by Ms. Nikita Aswani.
Yeah. How to help a child from social media pressure? This is from Nikita.
Hi, Nikita. That's a very, very nice, interesting question. So, one is our addiction to the social media. Are you trying? I don't know whether you're saying social pressure is through the media. Shanti ma'am, is it through the media?
It's social media pressure. I assume it's the Facebooks and Instagrams and.
Yeah, the one thing is regulating your time on it. The longer the child doesn't keep a discipline of timing, the more you get pulled into that, and you start allowing this social media to rule your mind, to rule your thoughts. It doesn't allow you for constructive work for sure. So it is your willpower, and I don't think parents or me can do anything till you decide, I do not want this anymore. And when you decide, I do not, it's not going to be there. Yes, Shanti ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Nandini, I think we've answered that question. How do you understand that the child is in pressure or depression or emotion? I'll move on to Ms. Chandra, our question. How to teach them to balance both positive and negative things in their lives?
Okay, for children and adolescents, there is a way of doing it, a method. You use a method. So usually everybody knows this, that Shanti ma'am, it was emotions, or just can you repeat the question? How do we balance positive?
The positive and negative things in life, how do they balance? I mean, the right and wrong, probably the parent meant.
Okay, so one thing is, a child who's asking this, whoever it is, needs to work on their self-esteem, on their self-image. They need to become more aware of what they can do, how they can go about their activities. Are they procrastinating? Are they doing things punctually? Are they listening to their parents? This will give an answer to the positive side of their persona or personality. If the child is not listening to the elders, because definitely the elders have better experiences, or decides that nobody is wanting to hear me, I have no one next to me, something is wrong, it needs a reality check. So this is possible if you just take a simple paper, write 5 positive things of you on one side and 5 negative things. You will understand whether you got to work it from your parents' side by approaching them, or from your side by having a self-awareness into your behavior patterns. Please remember one thing, this is for everybody. Those negative behaviors which we have got reinforced throughout the years can definitely be changed with cognitive behavior therapy. We can change ourselves slowly and progressively. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think noting down does help a lot, writing it out. This is a question from Ms. Alamelu, sorry. How to make a child to listen and obey our instructions?
Okay, there are certain voice commands. I'll give you one of them. I know parents who say, stop it, I don't like it. You just have to use, this works magical. Now you stop this. I don't want this now. The NOW is something taught to us in our NLP classes. Now the way you say it, the child generally stops short and listens. And sometimes in the teenage years, the child doesn't want to listen because it's made up its mind that you need to tell it 3 to 5 times. Here, the parent gets emotionally destroyed because the parent has other stresses, and here the child is not listening. How do we go about it, or how do I go about it? If you can ignore the child sometime, ignore the child. If you're not able to ignore the child, you make the child sit in front of you and start Role playing. If you remember, role playing is you start trying to show them that if you don't do this, this will be the consequence. If this also doesn't work, let's not get aggressive, let's get assertive. And the best way is, if needed, a mediator can be brought in. Sometimes the same thing you say, the child doesn't listen. You get a friend to come over for tea, they feel a little bad, but it's okay. It could create an effect. Yes, ma'am.
Moving on to Ms. Adilash's question, and it's not very clear to me. What is mind by therapy, ma'am?
What is?
Mind by therapy, ma'am. Could you
No,
rephrase?
she means actually what is meant by therapy.
Okay. What is meant by therapy? Okay, therapy. I think she's talking about therapy.
Therapy is a very simple interaction between two individuals. The basis of that therapy is trust and comfort and hearing the person out. It's not about giving solutions. As a psychologist today, and with all my experiences, I do not decide for my clients. I discuss and ultimately what they feel. It's a direction they take. Therapy helps to ease out your emotions or your struggles or improves your relationships, not with yourself, but your family, your friends, or helps you in your mind decisive processes. So therapy is as simple as that. You can take therapy from someone professional or someone who has proper experience. Try not to take therapy from your peers. You're going to go into peer pressure, which is the most horrifying thing these days. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, how to help a child from gadget pressure? They're always sitting with gadgets.
Now, considering the present moment, gadget should be given to the child, otherwise he will go frustrated. But controlling the time is very important. Better not to take something out completely. I know I have kids who come to me with 6 hours, 10 hours. They get up at 4 a.m. to play a gadget or a game. So I think parental, you have to be the authoritarian parent there. You're permissive parent and you're authoritative. When you're able to balance these two, you have to balance it. You're the parent, be in your role, balance it, and reinforce that behavior. If they have stuck to that 2 hours or 3 hours of gadget, give them a gift of what they like and appreciate them also, that I'm so glad you did this, and tell them the downside of it. On gadgets, your eyesight gets lower, your body gets weaker with all this radiation. Show examples of all that. Yes, ma'am.
Children get more anger and stress during these lockdown period. We don't know how to handle them.
Okay, so that is why I've been insisting on activities. When we know right now we cannot go on sports, I am, whoever's asked this question, kindly refer on art therapy. It is a very huge field. There is so much more. Simple Zen art, doodle art. You give your child that just 45 minutes a day. Trust me, those frustrations, because I do it for my clients and I've seen results. That frustrations which they feel inside will come down. We all got angry as adults. We still get angry. All of us get angry. I get angry. I'm a soda bottle. So when I get anger, it comes back the fizz. But sometimes we can't control the child's fizz. So we can only, right now I look at activity at home, which definitely parents can spend 1 hour, or some kind of art therapy, or even seeing a movie together is very therapeutic. Or playing this Ludo, Scrabble with the child helps the child channelize its emotions. Give the child friend time. Let them talk to their friends over the phone half an hour, 15 minutes, because we all are social animals. If we don't interact, talk, we're going to go crazy. We itself find it so difficult. How would the child be finding it? So use and try to go into art therapy. It's amazing when you read up on art therapy. You could definitely help your child.
There's a common question. Mr. Bhupender Singh and Miss Tisha Harshini. Mr. Bhupender Singh asks, how much time per day would be okay for a teenager on social networking site? And Miss Tisha has asked how to No, I think they're two different questions. But I thought that I saw one that is similar to the social media. But I think this question will clarify all those parents who are asking about the same question on social media.
Okay, okay, let's talk about research and not me. Today's child is not going to take a no, and no child is going to sit locked up in a room. It's very important. Let them, it's like you're walking a platform of going to a park or a party or a get together on a social media platform. Now, parental check is definitely important. What is the recommended time? Surprisingly, 2 hours is the recommended time. So now I completely leave it to the parents, what they feel about it. And maybe I'm giving my child 2.5 because I have this small girl who loves to go on YouTube. And sometimes I give it 1.5. So I make sure that I'm more into an activity. We land up playing traditional games of that color game, that stones and all that, or therapeutic. If you want to make, you reduce social media time, get your children passionate into cuisine, cooking, baking, get your child into craft. You have to do it still till they're 18. They're in a plasticine mold. You can insist them and make them do it. If they're in peer pressure and they want to see more, you start reducing the time by 20 minutes, half an hour. Trust me, they'll turn around. I'll give you okay, we'll finish the questions and then I'll give you the official WhatsApp where people can, find a way. I'll tell you this. Next question, ma'am.
Shanti ma'am, there's a parent who has posted in the chat almost 10 minutes ago. I think they've not posted in the Q&A box.
Okay, I'll just
It's by Miss Prerna. How can we help children deal with sadness of missing out on normal life during pandemic times?
Okay, so that's the question.
Yes, how can we help children deal with sadness of missing out on normal life during pandemic times?
Okay, by telling them, by going out and show them, or just sitting with the child and playing some indoor games. They may say, put a tantrum that, no, we want to go out. What are they going to achieve? It's a matter of few more months. And every time you just tell them it's just little more and just little more. There was no technology earlier, we all know it. And there was no so many gatherings earlier. We have lived in a stone age and these kids can adapt. It looks to you in their tantrums or in their anger, they can't adapt. But the way we talk to them, and if you start reading on parental style, the way you explain to your child or you go into role playing, the children will definitely get the message across. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ma'am, this is a question from a grade 12 student. I really enjoyed this meet. It has been a few years since my parents and I have a normal sweet day. Any suggestion on how to bring them back to spend time with me, as I'm very scared of their unexpected outburst? She's also written that she does indulge in a lot of artwork and creative activities, but still feels low.
It's amazing to know that she's already doing the artworks, but she's not voicing her feelings out. She says her parents have different outbursts. Now, it's really tricky, okay? She has to take that effort to go and explain, especially you start with the mother. Starting with the mother is very important because women are a little more emotional and could understand this better. And you can definitely say, Mom or Amma, I'm not feeling good. Talk on the I. The I is very important. And I'm not feeling like before, and I don't know how to move on in life. I need your time. And if they're fighting, this is a case where I can make out there is a lot of arguments because of outbursts, which she says. So she needs to approach both the parents separately, convey her feelings to them, and then they all sit together. And no parent is a stone. A parent is, after all, human. Don't be scared. Please go and approach them individually and then bring them together. And the way you talk to your parent, telling them how you're feeling, they definitely will take a step. Please try that. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a parent here who wants to have a personal appointment with you and how to get in touch with you.
I will just flash the screen sharing of, we'll finish the question answer, then I'll flash a card and they can note down those details. It will take hardly 30 seconds. Yes.
The next one from Mr. Vijay. Okay, how to make sure that the school environment is not toxic and the students enjoy learning and not make scoring marks an achievement and not a race.
The last part of the question, please. Okay, ma'am, repeat the question.
How to make sure that the school environment is not toxic. I understand that as it's not pressurizing, I assume, and students enjoy learning and make scoring marks an achievement and not a race.
Okay, so whoever's written this question, there is an unseen pressure around. No school environment is bad. Every school environment is providing positivity. Every school environment wants the best to bring out within the child. So I will never even think a school is toxic, but I will ensure that I, initiate positivity or make my child understand his or her potential. See, once we get back on the school environment, every child has to be in a sport. I mean, that's something which will get the creative side out. As of now, I suggest whoever this parent is to concentrate on the creative aspects of their child, whatever the child wants to do, and make sure any child who is in a good value system will, even if the atmosphere is toxic. Okay, whoever's asked this question, we all have groups in school, we all have studied. I've had like people in my class who went astray, who hid and went to do things. I didn't get carried away. I'm so proud to tell you I didn't get carried away. It was because of the value and structure I carried from home, which made me strong. So, toxic or not toxic, it will work only if we are making our child mind free from lot of poisonous thoughts. So let's practice that at home, and no school is going to be toxic. There will be peer pressure. We can't help it, but we'll work around it. Yes, ma'am.
This is from Tisha. Tisha, I think this question has been answered, so I'll move to Nandini. Nowadays, mental strength of a child is decreasing. How do parents teach them to be mentally strong?
Nowadays, mental strength of a child
is decreasing. So, how do parents teach them?
This is the parent asking this question?
Yes, yes.
Okay, strength is something. Okay, let's talk about resilience. Resilience is a worked out method pattern. Strength is a pattern. I can't take a knife and say I'm strong. Or I can't just say I am strong. It doesn't work that way. It's the way little by little every day you talk to your child. You start reading stories to them. I don't know how old your child is, but if your child is anywhere from 12 to 14, you start reading stories on patriotism, fighters of India. You know, when we see movies about how our freedom was got for our country, there's a kind of strength which comes inside us. Positive stories, story reading, it plays a very crucial role in mental strength of kids. And there are proper professional storytellers, and the way they say it makes us from within move within. So I would suggest storytelling in this case. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Moving on to Ms. Lata's question, how to keep a child happy at home?
Give it a cupcake. Okay, how to keep the child happy at home? From this entire talk, ma'am, sir, you will have to start practicing mindful exercises. I will suggest a name for mindset. It's Carol Dweck. She's from the Stanford University, and they've done amazing research on kids. So you concentrate on care mindset, abundance mindset, how to make your child a giver more than a receiver, how to make your child, grow like a sapling in a different way. What is the oxygen you can provide at home? Again, what activity can you do with a child? Are you reading for the child? Or talk about family experiences to your child. Make it happy by providing real life experience. Get grandparents to talk to children. Do you know grandparents are rich treasure boxes? Put the grandchild there. They'll get spoiled and they will learn something. And something very important in today's talk, when this lockdown or this kind of stringent thing comes down, or we are scared to go out, take your child to an orphanage. It's okay, let them see it. They will understand how blessed they have to have you in their lives. That's role playing, role modeling. When they see another situation, their sensitivity, their antenna comes out. So now you plan smartly. Nothing is manipulative. Everything is manipulative. Doesn't this sound so different and ironical? You know why? When a small baby cries for milk, it cries. It's manipulative. That's a biological, we know. But the tantrums, we all are manipulative in a cute way. Manipulation doesn't mean we are running behind some. You be manipulative, but be it in a way where you can get your child towards you in a good way, obviously. Yes, ma'am.
Shanti ma'am, you can go on till Miss Aishwarya Balaji. I have stopped questions after that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Having children at home, I feel so anxious. What to do? Yeah.
Having children at home, the parent feels anxious because the parent is not used to that structure. The parent is used, put the child here and getting that me time. So whoever the parent is, maybe you can take that. The me time is very important for your personal growth, and you keep your child in the room when you can switch on a movie or do an art therapy or tell them while the child is in the online class, you're getting your me time. So you try to take your me time in a different way. You know best. Unless you contact me, I wouldn't know this, because I know we can work on our me time when the child is in his class. We can work on our me time when the child is studying. So you decide 1.5 hours is your me time and nobody can take it from you.
Yeah. Next, can I move on to the next?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I think we can combine a couple of questions actually.
Actually, this one we have covered a bit. If there is something like depression disturbing the child, how can we make the child avoid it and focus on studies?
It is very important to find out the root cause of that depression. It need not be a peer pressure. It can be a problem within the family. The child, usually when families go through a financial pressure, our child is absorbing that. Usually when the parents fight, the child is absorbing that. The child sets in depression. He's not able to concentrate in the studies. He back answers. How will we work on this? For the parent first to go through their self-awareness, to understand, are they the reason giving that depression? Many parents, ignorance is bliss. They may not know that. The parent has to understand first, are they giving that pressure on the child for the depression? If they are not giving the pressure on the child, then there are other activities to do to resolve this. Sometimes if your child likes someone and he's stuck in a frustrated feeling at a certain age, again 17, 18. So you'll have to find that out and then work on the solution. Don't just start shouting. It's going to make him more depressed. And let's make sure that child can do anything to himself. We don't want any inappropriate step taken by child. Let's be more caring. Let's be more patient. And let's love. Let's be more loving. We're not losing anything by loving, right? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. What is the difference between education and qualification?
I feel an educated person is not necessarily an intelligent person who uses his common sense. A qualified person has a lot of degrees and will have a lot of quality to deliver. So if I'm a qualified chef, I can definitely, deliver this. If I'm a qualified in my subject, I can deliver it. I've seen educated people acting like very small-minded. I would not generalize on education or qualification. I would generalize on your self-growth, your mindset, and your growth mindset, and your sensibilities. So no need to be educated if you're not going to use it, and no need to be qualified if there's no qualification of character inside you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there are two questions from Ms. Lata. What is the one thing should I help my child improve and work on? And how can I support the work you're doing in the classroom?
They want to make the child improve.
Yeah.
And work on.
One thing that she should concentrate on for her child to improve, and how can she parallelly help him with the classroom work?
Okay, in this question, breathing mindfulness is coming to me. Yoga, breathing. You make your child do some kind of exercise, some kind of yoga that will stabilize the focus. That focus will normally correlate to the control in the class, meaning to what you want your child to do. See, maybe an activity is boring. That's why this question has come up. Make the child do a type of exercise. Any form of exercise makes good hormones come out of the body. And if you tell your child at that given moment that, yeah, we need to do this, and then you do this, that good hormones will correlate to do that particular activity. Do try this.
This from Mr. Karan. How to stop procrastination?
That is a disease. We all have gone through this disease, not just, the person. So procrastination is progressive. And if it's, I don't know whether the parent wants this for the parent or for the child. You structure your day and decide by this time, I will make sure this is done, and take 2 days break. Don't be so harsh on yourself. If you can be 50% better to what you were, then you've actually achieved your procrastination goals. Yes.
How do I study when I don't feel like studying?
Spray a fragrance, your favorite fragrance around you. It will change your senses, and your senses start indulging in the activity you need to do. But if you want this on a more serious note, you will have to take you have to divide your structure of your, what is your subject content. So you study the easier one, then the difficult one. Break it and study, chunk it. The process of chunking is very important in studying matter. So the student has to take the easier topic, study, then the difficult topic, then the easy topic. Use the morning for the difficult topics and post lunchtime for the difficult topics. We were told this, so I'm passing the information around.
There's a parent here who wants to ask, I am having a toddler and a teenager whose wantings are different now. How do I manage spending time with them while the toddler requires more attention from me?
This is really very challenging for the poor parent. This is only possible on division of time. Definitely, the toddler is going to take more time of yours, but make sure when your toddler is resting or busy in something which you have kept it in, you give that time to your teenager. Your teenager must be taking your energy out in a different way because they are going through their own issues, and your toddler by default is taking the energy in a different way. Ma'am, you strike a balance. By default, you will be giving the toddler whatever time, but make sure at least in the evening, maybe that's a calm time from 5 to 7, 6 to 8, you give your teenager time. You have no choice. It's like, I just have to do this. And you'll definitely even find me time for yourself, whoever's asking me this question. It's a balance. You have to strike it.
I think that answered Ms. Vidyaji's question also. One last question, ma'am. How do I get my child out of laziness, and how to study maths without getting bored? It's from the same page.
How do I get my child out of laziness?
And how to study maths without getting bored?
Okay. So regarding the child's laziness, those times are gone when we show them the stick and say, get up, do this. So a lot of sweet talk works. In cognitive behavior therapy, every time the child moves towards the thing of doing that activity which you are telling them to do, please reinforce with a gift or with appreciation words. So behavior which is learned can be unlearned. Keeping that in mind, you can change the behavior. It's not the end of the world, the laziness part. And ma'am, what was the second part of the question?
How to...
Maths. Make it more interesting.
Yeah. How to study math without getting bored.
Which class do you think this is for? Smaller class?
I'm not sure. The parent hasn't specified that.
I'm going to ask Manasa ma'am to take that question up. Ma'am, how to make the maths interesting?
All right. See, this question seems to be coming during the pandemic times. This question will not come if it was a normal life, first and foremost. The thing is, if it is for a higher class, maybe a secondary or a senior secondary, then I think we should try and alternate the math subject with a lighter subject. So what happens is the brain cells are given a bit of change, and when they come back to mathematics, then they suddenly brighten up, and you might click, or it might you might be able to crack a problem. So the interest automatically goes up. But if it is a smaller class, I don't think this question is coming from, I'm not sure if the question is from a primary school. If the parent can post, if the parent is here, maybe they can post.
Ninth grade, ma'am, from 9th grade.
Class 9, okay. So yes, so what happens is, one thing is during pandemic times, it is extremely difficult to teach mathematics online. And I'm saying this with a lot of confidence. Academic continuity will not take place or will not continue to take place online. We are going to come back to the campus. The students, when they come back, I will see to it that I pass on the information to all the CBSE schools that please bridge the learning gaps first. Do not continue with what you are teaching, but bridge the gap. There is extreme learning loss. The child who is currently in 9th standard may not have completed certain areas of doubts in class 8 last year, because we were on the online platform from class 8. So as it is, there is a learning loss, there is a learning gap. That is why the child now in class 9 is also facing that difficulty. So mathematics is something that is very difficult to teach online, and it comes only by practice. But if the child is able to alternate between lighter subjects and come back to the math to practice, they have to practice all the time, repeat the steps again and again. And then what happens? The child is able to understand. Only when the child comprehends the concepts, they will be able to instill some kind of an interest in the subject. If the child is not able to understand the concept, they will not like it. They will not like any subject for that matter. So I somehow feel and predict that schools will be the only organization which will come back to how it was before the pandemic, and academic continuity will take place on site inside the campus, and it will happen.
Manasa, could we get, can we share, I think we are done with the questions. So I guess Manasa ma'am can get
Is Ms. Anita here?
the official number from Ms. Mudit.
Ms. Mudit, a lot of parents are asking for your official number. So if you can post it in the chat box, perhaps they can make a note of your number to speak to you. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay, so I think it's right there, and we'll hold this for 30 seconds. So
Yes.
Okay, can we, yeah.
We have the program coordinator of our primary CBSE school, Shrine Velankani Senior Secondary School, Ms. Anita Velraj, to present the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anita. I'm here to deliver the vote of thanks for today's webinar. I would like to thank Ms. Manju, our speaker, for enlightening us with her knowledge. The point where Ms. Manju told us about peer pressure and about the authoritarian parents was really informative. I would like to thank our correspondent, Mrs. B.K.K. Pillai, our secretary, Mr. Chini sir, and our principal, Mrs. Manasa Pillai, for organizing this webinar. Also, I would like to thank all teachers, students, and parents present here for paying their attention. Thank you.
There's one more thing that I want to mention here. We have a few Rotarians. We have Rotarian Deepak Agarwal from District 3240. Thank you, sir. We have head of schools from other CBSE schools. From not only CBSE schools, we also have head of schools from State Board. We have the teachers from the Central Cluster, the South Cluster, the West Cluster. And we have the teachers from the various clusters. We have 240 schools and 8 clusters, and many of them are here. And we have the parents from other institutions. Thank you very much. And Ms. Manju, I feel like I have been reset and renewed. I feel like I've been rejuvenated. This is, I think, one moment, not one moment, an entire 1 hour where I have been calm and composed. And I've learned a lot. I mean, every detail is a learning aspect, and you are wonderful. We are really happy and fortunate to have you this evening, and you've made our Friday fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Manju.
Thank you so much for having me, Manasa. And I'm really, I've seen, because I come visiting to the school, I've seen how you all facilitate, and even in the current situation, how you're managing to go beyond and provide the best of what you can do. And especially, I've known you're doing the growth mindset, you've been working on it. I'm glad. Congrats
Thank you.
for your school.